started the club, and we met Kent at the original Frank Sargent show almost 10 years ago. Love this shirt. We talked, had a conversation. We said we wanted to put our logo on shirts. He helped us out from the get-go. He's been supportive of us ever since. So without any further ado, Kent Hickman from Gills, Captain John Gunter, and then Mike, are you good? You done? You well lubricated?
Oh, jeez.
You good?
Do I even want to?
Captain Mike Goodwine.
Oh.
Who's gonna kick us off?
This thing work?
Yeah.
We can all share it.
It gives you that deep bass. It gives you that good wine voice.
Oh, Lord.
Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this?
That's why you're not allowed. I'm just going to yell best I can. Kent, John, Mike, how many of you guys have been to when we've talked here before? Quite a few y'all? Okay, I know nothing more than them, so y'all can just go home. A few new people here. So, we all fish a little bit different. I run a big tournament series in Florida, and I've fished redfish tournaments for years, and Mike's a captain, John's a captain, so everybody has their different styles. So I've been doing about once a month speaking to different people. Somehow you get where people know you talk to clubs, and then they start calling you. And I was in Jacksonville this morning, so yeah, it's been a long day. But I like to start, and what we do is just kind of take turns and kick in on some stuff. But what I try to teach people about fish, catching fish, is how to find fish that are hungry. Okay, it's like if you go to McDonald's at noon, it's kind of crowded.
Hey, they can't hear you back here, so you got to use the mic.
Okay. All right, I'll do it like this. So let's say you go to McDonald's about noon, right? A lot of people there, right? It's you could put a cheeseburger with a hook on it on the counter. You're probably going to catch somebody. So it's the same with fishing. When John or Mike or myself are targeting fish, and if I'm in a tournament or I'm targeting tournament fish, so I see a lot of mistakes from guys that just start fishing tournaments or just fun fishing. So, like they'll go to Fort DeSoto and say, I saw 300 redfish on a flat in Fort DeSoto. That's where I'm going in the tournament. And when somebody tells me that, I go the other direction, okay? Because I can't get those fish to eat ever when they're in that big a school. It's hard to get them to eat, especially using artificial. So I try to seek out a couple things. I want you to remember like 5 things that I look for, and it doesn't matter where I go. You can drop me in a boat somewhere, I'm going to find fish. So I look for, first of all, I fish pretty shallow. Not as shallow in the summer because it's so hot, but I'm mostly a wintertime guy. So I look for a couple things. I fish typically for redfish, but I catch all the other fish while I'm chasing redfish. So I'm in 3 foot and under everywhere I go. I fish, I've hardly ever caught a fish deeper in the way I fish than 3 foot of water. So the first thing I see people do is they're fishing too deep, especially if you're targeting redfish. And the thing about targeting redfish, the flounder right beside them, the snooker right beside them, the trout are right beside them in most cases. Right now the trout are kind of deep, John can tell you that. And that's what they do in the summer. But in the winter, all these fish, even in the summer now, if you catch the right tides and everything, so the first thing I teach everybody is fish shallower, 3 foot and under. So a lot of people fish 3 foot and over, and they catch trout, and they catch a bluefish, and they catch a jack and things like that, but they never seem to get that redfish or that quality flounder or that quality snook. This is typically with artificial stuff, so I'm covering a lot of room. So I go 3 foot of water and under. Okay, that's step one. I look for a salt and pepper bottom, which is grass, sand, just not straight grass or straight sand. I like salt and pepper bottom. I like to find edges. I like to find a sandbar that cuts off into grass, oyster bed, grass, sand, dock, that kind of stuff. So that's the second thing is salt and pepper bottom. I don't even know if I can come up with 5. I'm gonna keep thinking about it. That's 2. Obviously, we look for bait. We look for mullet. We look for birds. We look for bait. We look for activity. Okay, so that's like 3. So if you're driving along, you look for that bottom we're looking for, you look for the bait, then you have to know really what kind of fish you're looking for and what to throw at them. And so that's 3. Let me come up with another one here. Yeah, we haven't done tide yet, but I'm a new moon and a full moon guy. I like the big tides that move a lot. The in-between tides are tougher. You can still catch fish. Obviously, the bait guys do better on these tides than artificial guys. So I love a new moon. That's just my favorite tide to fish. And if I get to pick, I try to pick a couple days around the new moon. It's just when I like to fish a lot of low water. And 5 I'll come up with before we get out of here, but that's 4 of them. But 5 is learning how to cast. I take people all the time and I tell them 2 things. I said, first of all, we're going to get stuck and you're going to have to push my boat at some point. Okay, so wear some shoes so you can get wet, because I always get stuck purposely. Yeah, it ain't right, Mike. Were you pushing or not? All right, because I want to get to my spot, and you can't always get there just idling on in there. We get stuck, we push to get over the hump to get to the deeper water. So that's the first thing I tell people, is that we're going to get stuck. And then I tell you, can you cast? You know, because casting, especially if you're an artificial guy, casting is very important. It's important with bait, with accuracy, but not as important with long distance in some cases. So it's very important to be able to cast a long way using 2 hands. I mean, I'll show you a little bit, slow motion. I don't want to hit the ceiling. So ratchet, hand here, and you ratchet. That's how you cast. I mean, I can shoot 40 yards just like that, right? So this thing that people want to do, and all these things they do with one hand, and they do this, and I don't know what you are doing, but. So if you do the ratchet, right, boom, you don't have to go all the way back here and hook everybody in the boat, just boom, okay? So you can work on that kind of stuff. Very important to be able to cast a certain distance. And that's really simple math. So if you think if I'm throwing 50 feet, and John's throwing 30 feet, and I made 100 casts, that's 2,000 more feet or whatever the math is on that, in the same amount of casts. So it's very important to try to get your casts out there. So that's the first start. That's where I'm going to start. I'm going to let Mike or whoever wants to go next, and then we'll kind of take turns so I don't bore y'all too much. So here's Big Mike.
All right. Well, he started out, he was saying you said something about like going to McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start out as like going to Kentucky Fried Chicken. But anyway, what I gotta show y'all too is mainly about casting. What he was saying. Let me see, how can I say this without offending? Yeah, it's 2017. You gotta be careful on what you say nowadays.
Not playing baseball.
I see a lot of people doing a lot of things wrong fishing, and so I'm gonna show y'all some of the things I see people doing wrong, and if you listen to me and take my advice or whatever, you will catch more fish. But I see a lot of times people come to these seminars and y'all listen, and then y'all go back, and when you get on the water, you do the same thing you've been doing. I ain't saying what you're doing is wrong. We just get complacent in what we do. So if you take notes and listen to what I'm about to show you, it will help you catch fish. And the first mistake I see people do wrong, and this catching redfish. This is catching redfish, near the bushes or wherever. Okay, so first of all, that redfish, like right now, it's real hot, and they don't like the heat, just like we don't like the heat. So they're gonna be sitting in a spot, and you got to get that bait within the perfect vicinity. If you don't get that bait in there, they ain't gonna chase it. So you almost got to hit them on the head or let it soak and sit there and let them find it. So the first mistake I always see people do They'll cast in, hold this right quick. So they'll get the bait, and they'll cast it in there, and they'll make the perfect cast. Let's just say they make the perfect cast. And they get it in the hole where it needs to be at. And the first mistake I see a lot of people do, I guarantee you, probably 99% of y'all in here do this. They flip the bell and they do this. That is a mistake. You don't do that. Because just a couple of turns, you don't pull that bait 2 or 3 feet or whatever away from where it needs to be. So if you listen to me, if you don't take nothing I say tonight, take this advice. Next time you cast it in there and you get it in the perfect spot and the bait hit the water, flip the bell. Instead of doing this, do this. Pull out some drag and let that tide take that bait and move it wherever it needs to be, naturally, instead of you doing this. Because once you do that, once you do 1 or 2 turns, you'll sit there, and then before you know it, you turn again, you turn again, and then you're looking out there where you cast it at, thinking your bait is out there, and then you look down and your bait's sitting there smiling at you. How many people here have done that? You get the strike out, and the bait's sitting right there in front of the boat.
Hey Mike, show them like 3, pull this tight. Show them what 3 does to you. I'm not coming with it.
I mean,
4 feet.
Right.
yeah, you pull it that far.
That was 3 winds.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's what he's talking about.
That's what I'm trying to say. So, there's kids in here, man. I want to drink. Come on. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if you do that, you will increase your chances of catching the fish. And it's human nature to just keep turning. And like I said, before you know it, your bait, you look down and your bait is sitting at the boat trying to get back in the boat because you don't want to be out there because the fish are out there. And a lot of people get, when they fish in live bait, a lot of people confuse live bait with artificial. They'll throw a piece of live bait out there, and it's just what I was trying to say. They steady moving it and cranking it, and it don't look natural. So, so if you just cast that bait out there and do this, pull out some line and just let it sit and let that tide move that bait naturally, your chances would be better at catching the fish. So that's the first tip I got.
Very good, bro. Very good.
Hey John, you want to go next?
Sure, absolutely. Just to hit on a little bit what Mike said, you know, that's what we do. You know, you got to let that bait go in there naturally. And I try to use a high vis line because a lot of times you won't feel the bite. You'll see the bite, especially if you got a big loop in your line and you're doing it right. That tide's taking it under those trees. We're talking live bait and cut bait. We're not talking artificials here. This is strictly live bait and cut bait. You'll see that line tick and take off when that red or that snook picks it up before you ever fill it. So a high vis line is very, very handy over the moss green or something like that. So that's pretty good. And like the redfish, like Mike was saying, right now they're tucked up in that shade on the higher part of the tides. You know, if you pull up there on your spot where you've went last week and caught 10 redfish and you can see the bottom under those trees, you might as well turn around and go do something else. Those fish are not under there right now. You want some water, you want that water so those fish can get up under it. You want at least, I say, 1.5 to 2 foot of water under those trees. Cut bait's what's working for us right now. It will hit the live, but I'm doing a lot better on the cut.
What do you cut now?
I'm using, if I can get the big horse thread fins, I like those. Cut pins, if you can't get them, big white baits will work good too, but cut pin fish is my favorite on the bushes. And
I don't do this, so
Yep.
explain what that means.
yeah, so what we do is,
You got a pinfish.
you take your pinfish, and I like the ones that are like 3 or 4 inches long, good size ones.
You get those
And
in your net?
yeah, you get them in your net.
Okay.
You got to catch them on the flats, of course. We're not going to catch them out in the deep water. We're catching bait at. Every once in a while, you'll get a few. But if you get a good size one, you'll get what I call about 3 steaks off of them. You use his head, use the middle, and the back side of them. So 3 pieces of that bait. and pitch them up in there tight, just like Mike said. Give it some slack, let it go up in there, and let it soak. And that cut bait, those fish can be 10, 15 feet either side, staged in another hole. If that tide's moving towards where those fish are at, they're going to smell that bait, and they're going to come in there and they're going to pick it up. Or if they're coming through on the tide, they're going to smell it and pick it up. So a cut bait, puts off a lot of scent.
Are you running weight or free line?
Free line, yep. If there's a lot of
What
current,
size hook?
I'm using a 2-0. Mustad's what I use. Sometimes I'll go to a number 1 or a 1-0.
Yeah. See? And like he's saying about the cut bait, I use a 1-0. But I use white bait. And I bite the tails off mine. You can cut the tails off of them. And the reason we do that is when you pitch it up there, and if you don't take the tail off it, that fish is going to run out every time. He don't want to be in there. So if you take the tail off of it and pitch it up in there, he's going to stay and just move around and bleed until he get ate. Picking off scent, and I try to stay away from pinfish, because when you bite them, they sticky in your mouth. So that's just me personally. And if you're into biting the fish, I'm going to give you another tip. Whenever you grab the fish to bite the tail off, you got to put your thumb over his
Poop hole.
poop hole. Because if you don't,
It's
if
gonna
you
squirt
bite
you.
it, it's going to squirt you. Every time, And it don't taste bad. I've had worse than that. I mean, just
More than just poop in your mouth.
get you a good fillet knife. Mustard. Get you a mustard knife and cut the tail off.
We got a lot of poop going on. Hey, it's one thing I forgot to ask when I was talking. What primarily do y'all raise your hand if like you boat fish, for example, if you fish out of a boat? Okay, who's like a kayak person? Mine, I know Chuck. Okay, and then shore guys, or waders. Okay, pier people. Okay, the pier people. Right. All right. So. There's something I always teach is about the negative tides, and some of y'all have heard it before. Have anybody that's been to this before and heard me talk about negative tides actually went and tried any of that? Did you have any luck with it, or no luck? Yeah, can't get to them or just can't find them.
Can't go.
All right, so you have two big tides during the month, the new moon and the full moon, okay? In the winter, the dead negative tides are in the morning. I'm just doing simple, there's exceptions for everything, but in the morning, wet wind and different things can affect this. But in the winter, from say October to April, let's call that winter, negative tides in the morning are super low. That's when the oysters are sticking out and everything's out of the water. And I know Chuck and I love negative tides because he's always in my spot or I'm in his. I don't know which one we call it. So, but in the summer, you get the same ones and they're in the evening, okay? They might be at 7 o'clock at night. You just have to look at the graph. If you pull up your tide graph, you'll see where it drops below the negative line. But it's always on full moon and new moon, simple as that. What is it, new moon this weekend, or full moon this weekend? What, it was a Sunday or Monday? Do you know what day it is? Starting about Saturday to Tuesday, you'll see in the evenings, the water's gonna suck out, right? So that makes potholes. That makes places that fish have to hang out until the tide comes back in. Now this works a little bit better in the winter, just because it's so hot. A lot of the fish are a little bit deeper now, so they may not get stuck in these holes, but some of them are still there. I caught some really, really nice big snook and things like this in the summer in these same holes. So they're not as prevalent as the winter, but it's still a good pattern. And what's cool about the pattern is, this is a good story, 4th of July was a new moon tide. And if you ever hear anybody that says, oh, I'm not going boating on the 4th of July because it's crazies and all these people, and water, the ramps are crazy. So it just so happened that 4th of July had a new moon. So I was down in Charlotte Harbor, and we had all of Bull Bay to myself because there was like this much water in it. You know? So, you know, we didn't have any problem. And I have a smaller boat, so I can kind of go wherever. So it's really cool because if you're like Mike and them, you ever pull up the spots and there's already people there?
All the time.
All right. And he fishes during the week, guides during the week. I'm sure you run into it. When the only people that I ever see in my spots is Chuck. Charles, he's always, because the kayak guys know this type of fishing, and it's rarely ever crowded. So, you know, as people get more and more into fishing, and there's still plenty of it. No matter how much I talk about this, it's not going to overcrowd giving these tips because it's very difficult to do. That's why you heard me talking about pushing my boat and stuff. But if you start learning on these negative tides where these potholes are, and there's thousands and thousands of them, you just have to learn. You look up in there, and in the summer you can just beach yourself on the outer sandbar out here and walk into a couple of them. I mean, they're 100 yards, and it's ankle deep of water. Be a trough in there. You see mullet jumping in there. There's probably a fish or two in there. So we have these places, you know, literally all down the coast. So I typically just fish in the summer. I fish the negative tides in the evening, and then in the winter I do it, you know, in the morning. So I really enjoy it. It's never crowded. The fish are condensed. So what I throw typically are just basic baits. This is a jig head and a paddle tail on here. It's a great bait just to search out, you know, it's 1/4 ounce jig head, 1/8 ounce jig head, and a paddle tail. And you pop it. Most of the times these depressions are sand holes, or they're salt and pepper like we talked earlier. So you just pop it in there. You don't have to stay there all day. You see a hole, make 6 or 8 casts, move to the next one. You just keep moving, covering water. I covered a lot of water. I think my engine on my boat has 800 hours, and my trolling motor has like 40,000 hours. So I mean, that's the difference what I do on my boat. So
Let me ask you a question real quick. When you throw that paddle tail, does the color of your bait depend on your color of the water?
I mean, it can. I'm not a big color person, but basically, I usually throw either a green one or a white one. I don't do a lot in between. I throw what would be called watermelon or something, or a white bait. I mean, that's the two that I start with. If they're in there and they're eating it, it doesn't really matter. It's if they're real spooky, you start messing around baits, maybe dead stick a gulp or something like that. I mean, but for the most part, you can throw a gold spoon or, you know, anything in there if they're biting.
Are you poling or are you on your trolling motor?
I'm typically on my trolling motor. I don't do a lot of pole. I'm too lazy. Yeah, but I'm running at. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I heard that you don't use circle hooks with artificial bait. Is that true?
They don't come with circle hooks. No, they just come. They either travel.
I mean, like if you have gulp shrimp or something. And
Oh, you can do that. Sure, you can use
so
a
you
circle
can
hook.
use it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Matter of fact, depending on what skill level or how much experience you have in fishing, circle hooks are awesome because you basically just reel them in, you know.
Especially if you especially if you're using a gulp and what we call dead sticking, is where you take that gulp and take that circle hook and you have a little weight, probably 3 feet up that leader line from you, throw it out there and put it in a rod hole and just wait for it to hit. That's all you have to do with that artificial bait, honestly. Anything that's scented, dead stick it and call it a day.
Thank
Oh, we got another Todd. What do you need to know?
I was just going to ask
Don't
you
you know?
a question. What is the thing that you look for when you're looking at potholes? What is the main thing that you're looking for?
I like to see mullet or something in there. Okay, I like to see something in there. But I also, you start to learn. First of all, if there's mullet, some potholes are only 6 inches deep. Right, it's not a good pothole, and some of them are 2 foot deep. So if you see a mullet actually jumping, you know there's some water in there. And then you can sometimes tell that it's a little less white, it's more of a green hole. And you just start to learn them. You've found them all your life too. I mean, you just find where they're at. I go to the same spots year after year. I try to always find new stuff, but the same spots typically hold fish. And what was your question a minute ago? Somebody?
No, me?
Yeah.
No, I said, are you using trolling motor or are you Poland?
Okay.
I said trolling motor.
So, yeah. Well, it made me think of something. That's why I was bringing it back up.
Back to the potholes too. Another way to, what I look for and what John can, because we use bait. We pull up to a pothole and we just chum the heck out of it. And if the fish blow up, we know it's fish.
Right.
If it don't, sometimes, seriously, sometimes with my clients, they look at me like I'm crazy. I pull up, I get a bat full of chums and sling it out, and if nothing happens, I'd be like, all right, let's go. And they look at me like, what the, am I paying you for this? You just going around slinging out bait. Just be patient. When we find the right pothole, we sling it up there, and those fish will start popping left and right. Then you just pick your fish on which one you want to catch.
I know what I was thinking now after you. All right. So I do use my trolling motor, but the first thing I do when I enter a flat is I look which way the wind's going. Okay. Okay. So when I'm in the boat, I might look like I'm just driving, but I'm computing, right? Wind and tide and all this stuff. So I'm going to start upwind. Okay. So I can barely use my trolling motor, and if I get to pick, I want the sun at my back. So wind at my back, sun at my back. Doesn't always work out that way, but that's what if I get to pick. So try to go light. If there's a decent wind, I'll just turn it off and drift a flat where the holes are. Just be real stealth that way. So that's mostly my tips. We got a bunch of guys with a lot of information. I don't want to talk the whole time. We got one guy right here. What would you need, Scott? You need some help back there?
Yeah. You also do the same thing with your power pole too, don't you? When you're drifting, when you get to a spot you think looks good, stick it down, make a couple casts, lift it up, and drift a little bit farther so you're not.
Yeah, definitely. I use the power poles. You got to have it, you know. And one other thing, Tiger was bringing up Cleanse Oil earlier. They're a sponsor of ours at the FL Pro Redfish Series, and I got a bottle. I've been using it on all my stuff. One thing that's worked awesome is I think Tiger even said it on your trailer jacks. Anybody that's ever owned a trailer jack, I think I replace one once a year. I don't know about you guys, but I started using that recently, a couple months ago. I mean, it's just staying brand new. It's just a really good, you can just tell when it gets wet, it's like coated, and it's really starting to last longer. So that Cleanse Oil stuff's very good. And I like that it's thin, because there's a lot of corrosion stuff out there, okay? It's not the first guy to have a corrosion spray. But I looked for stuff that's thin, not real messy, but does the job, because there's stuff out there that, you know, you just end up with it all over you, you know. So Cleanse Oil is an excellent product, and these guys are very supportive of our industry, and so I definitely check out their stuff. I'm going to turn this over to Mike and John. I really don't have anything else to say. One guy right here.
Yeah, question. When you're working a group of potholes, you already talked a little bit about boat position, but also how to not spook them, and how close you get or how far away you get to work those, to the point where you can see, you know, you gotta get close enough to see them.
What's cool about the pothole is it's not as spooky a situation, because it's the deeper, quieter spot anyway. I'm usually unfortunately, I'm usually about a foot of water, trying to be quiet, but I might be hitting my trolling motor a little bit, and then I see the hole coming. They're not that spooky, and they really can't go anywhere, but again, wind's at my back, if I can, which most of the time it is. I mean, you can hit a pothole from 40 yards, they're not going to hear you. And that's why I was talking about being able to cast a long way, because, you know, you see the pothole, you just hit every edge of it, you know, every edge, just all the way around it. And if nothing's in there, move on, you know, you don't have to sit there and fishing. So, here you go, guys. That's all I got for y'all.
Yeah. Speaking of, you're talking about the fish being spooked. I've seen that when it comes to fishing redfish, a lot of people are like, shh, you gotta be quiet and all that kind of stuff. But you actually don't. And I found out, I found some, and I'm speaking on not fishing real shallow waters on the flats. Mainly where I catch my fish at is in deeper water, 2 foot of water up in the mangroves. And those fish, you could go in there, be loud as you want to, and they ain't gonna spook. For some reason they don't. And friends got stuck. The hook got stuck, and we went up to get the hook out of the bushes.
Was that friend you?
Yeah. I've been in the bushes a lot.
Me too.
So we went in to get the hook out, and I dropped the bait like right down on the side of the boat, and I caught a redfish like right beside the boat while we were making all this noise. So, you know, I didn't really think nothing of it, and so about a month later, I had this lady and her kids out, and we was catching redfish from under this bush, and so her son hooked up on a redfish, and as he was fighting it, I had my pole. I took my pole and gave it to her. It was like hold my pole while I net your son's fish. So I grabbed the net, and as I'm trying to net his fish, I fell out the boat, right in the water. And so she's laughing, her kid's laughing, and as she's laughing, and she was filming it too. She had my pole like dangling in the water, and I'm standing right there. A redfish hit the lure, hit the bait. And so after that day, I was like, all this. I mean, you don't have to be quiet. Now, if you on a big school of reds and they're on the flat and you can see them and it's 100 reds, yeah, you got to be quiet. You got to be quiet and sneak up on them. And speaking of that, let me give y'all another tip. Something that I see done wrong. There's certain places that hold a lot of big redfish in big schools. I won't name the spot, but if you ever been in Weed Island, they got big schools of redfish over there at certain times of year. And it ain't no secret, those fish are there. But here's the problem that we have.
Trolling motor babies.
Yeah, you have people that get impatient and they'll see somebody hook up on the fish and they ain't catching them, and first thing they want to do is come in and choke the fish down and start bumping them. And those fish are going to move, and they'll keep moving. And then once they start moving, then you got the guy that's on the trolling motor. Now he's chasing them, and and those fish, if you give them time, they got a certain area they're going to stay, and they're going to move back and forth in the same area. So when you get on the trolling motor and start casting after them, you can actually push them from out of the area and mess it up for everybody. So, like I tell people, you know, when they're on the trolling motor chasing them, I've never in my life seen a fish eat with his butthole. He eat with his mouth. But they steady pushing them. So if you just be patient and just, you know, sometimes you ain't gonna be that boat that's hooking up. And I know it's frustrating to sit there and see another boat hooking up, but if you just chill out and wait, and it's another trick you can do, start chumming. You can actually chum those fish right from that boat to yours. That's if you could just chill out and wait, you know, and your time will come. So that's one of the things I see that people do that's frustrating, and you can catch more fish if you don't push the fish out of the area. That's the point I'm trying to get to. And what else am I trying to get to? Or you don't have to be all quiet and all that kind of stuff.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, let me give you an answer.
And the only reason why I say this is because I know a lot of guys out here may or may not do it. If you come onto a flat where you see a bunch of guys and the redfish are just coming in droves, okay? It may be 50 in a school, whatever. What is the easiest tactic? So to deter them from getting on that trolling motor and chasing them, what's the easiest tactic that they can do to sit there and to increase their catch on redfish that are moving?
So, like I was trying to saying earlier, those redfish, they got like a highway, like a pattern they run. So if you pull up and you pull up to an area and it's got, just say you pull up the way now, and it's 5 or 6 boats along the shoreline, and everybody hooking up every now and then. And the best thing to do is come in and always try to hold down level with the other boats instead of pushing in and getting too close to the mangroves. Because then you don't mess up they pattern. So if they know you there, those redfish are gonna turn around, go the opposite way, keep going. They ain't gonna come back because they know it's a roadblock there.
They want to settle down.
Yeah.
They want to settle.
Yeah, so I just think people just don't chill out. I mean, that's the word. You just need to, and that's red fishing.
Yep.
If you just chill out and wait, the redfish will come. And a lot of times too, I've seen where you have a line of people fishing the shoreline, and those redfish will be on the outside, behind them. You know, because somebody don't went in too close, and they'll push out, and they'll move around the back side of them. So
Right off the bar.
yeah, right off the bar. So pole down, start chumming, and wait. You know, and sometimes I've actually been at Wheaton Island and sitting still and saw people chasing redfish, and they brought those fish right to my boat with me pulled down. You know, so just don't get, all antsy and pushing the fish. So
Let me ask you another question then. Do you prefer live bait over cut bait?
I prefer live bait with cut tails or bit off tails. I try the dead bait and get a lot of catfish and stuff, but I mean you do catch them with a bunch of cut bait or whatever. But to me, the live bait, the cut tail is almost, you're getting the both the best world. Mm-hmm. He's bleeding, he's moving around, and sooner or later he's gonna die. Then you're gonna have
How many catfish y'all getting a trip right now?
huh?
How many catfish y'all getting a trip?
Man.
Too many.
I had one hit a topwater the other day, so I know they're aggressive. But
Hey, those catfish are evolving because they think they are redfish.
Yeah.
Now,
Seriously,
I think
this
the
thing
scientists
blew
need to
up.
check into
This
that.
thing blew up on a topwater like a game. He made me think of a funny story. I was in Panama City in a tournament, and in Panama City, the Reds do school up a lot more than here. And I saw a team, and I could tell that they were following a school around. And I was going past him to another spot anyway, and the guy's kind of not a nice guy, and he said, "Hey, y'all don't come over here because y'all." He's yelling at me. I'm on 200 yards. I was going by him to get back in his cove. He said, "Don't come over here. Y'all mess up my school or whatever." I said, "Yeah, no problem. I'm going over here." Well, I went about a quarter mile from him around the corner. Well, here comes that school that he was just saying was his. I said, "Hey, brah, I got the school. Don't come over here. I'm working on this now." We plucked him. We plucked him right in front of him. We were just pitching to him. So, you got to be cordial to everybody, because like Mike's saying, they're in front of his boat. You yell at somebody. Well, next minute, they're going to be down in front of the other guy's boat, So in tournaments, most of us are pretty nice to each other. We understand that's how it works. But there was at one point in this same tournament, in about the size of the school bus area, right? There was, I'd say 12 boats in a circle, and we were just pitching to redfish. And they weren't going anywhere. We were all pitching, and what we were trying to do is get the bigger ones. We were getting 5 and 6, but we were trying to get the 7s out of there. That's the money fish, And we were just pitching, and then we'd be like, "What's he using?" Because here's this guy. He's right next to me. Like, "What's he using?" He's like, "Oh, he's got a natural gold shrimp on." So we could find our natural gold, and it was pretty funny. But we were literally pitching. We got our 2 good fish out of there. We left, but we were literally all power pulled down. They're stuck in the middle of us, just eating away. And but same school that the guy had yelled earlier, and I said he was being a little antsy because within 2 hours there's 12 boats circling these fish, So you got to be a little cordial with everybody out there. So John, teach us what you know. John knows a lot of stuff. To be quite honest with you, he probably knows way more. He does so much kind of fishing, so much different fishing. He starts talking about the snapper and the offshore stuff, and he's just got me Heck, I got one style I do, so here you go.
Slow motion.
Slow-mo.
Slow motion.
Yeah, we'll switch gears a little bit, guys, and talk about the other stuff that we do have in Tampa Bay in the summertime to catch. It's kind of my bread and butter right now in summertime, starting about, I'd say about May through, we have this fish all the way here until it starts getting cold. They're still around when it's cold, but you don't get the big ones. June, July, August is when the big snapper move into the bay. They come in to spawn or whatever they're doing, and that's when we get the big mangroves. That's what I like catching this time of year. There's so many different ways of catching them. There's so many different areas to catch them in the bay. You can catch them they catch big ones at the Skyway Fishing Pier. A couple guys that do pier fish. Main span of the Skyway, they catch them there. My primary way of catching them is I like to fish the shipping channels, the edges. We just go along those edges of those shipping channels, try to find whenever they dredge those channels out, they'll push those rocks up out of those channels, and they'll be up on the high side of the channel there. Shipping channel goes from Tampa Bay all the way out, out to Egmont. So there's miles and miles and miles of channel that you can fish and target these fish. And this time of year we get some big ones. We get fish upwards of 20 inches this time of year. You may think it's crazy, but we get some 5 and 6 pound mangroves inside Tampa Bay. And that's fun on light tackle. We're using small stuff. We don't beef up real big tackle. Basically use your same inshore rods that you're catching your trout on. I use 10 pound braid, 20 pound leader. Like I say, there's a few different tactics we use to catch these things. My favorite way is to free line. We'll get on our spot, get on our rock pile, or the edge of our channel, or whatever we're doing, and the tide is the main thing. You got to be there on the slower part of the tide. If the tide's ripping, those fish, they won't come up in a chunk. They hold tight to the bottom. They go under the ledges or under the rocks or whatever. And we've learned a lot by watching them. Todd, he's taught me quite a bit of stuff about that. He's a master of inshore grouper and snapper in Tampa Bay. So he kind of mentored me when I started guiding about 6 years ago. Showed me a lot of stuff. So I owe that guy a lot of credit. But anyway, like I say, the slower part of the tides, we'll get on our spot. When we catch our bait, we'll try to keep a bunch of bait. I usually put them in a bucket, try to get a whole 5-gallon bucket full of bait and just let them die in there. And we'll get on our spot. If it's smaller baits, you don't even have to cut them up. You can just drop them in by the handfuls. The smaller hatch bait that we have right now, there's tons of it around. Start dropping those over, and a lot of times those fish will come right up. Within literally a minute of you chumming, sometimes 30 seconds, they're at the surface. And what we'll do is, I like to use a pretty long leader when I'm doing that. Like this one here is rigged up. It's probably got about a 6 foot, 20 pound leader on it. And I'll take a chunk of bait. What's working for us real good right now is the bigger thread fins. We'll take those thread fins and just cut a big hunk out of the middle of that threading. And once you get those snapper up, just watch what that chum's doing naturally in that slow current. We'll drop that chunk of thread fin in. You want to just start pulling loops of line off. How many of you ever been to the Keys and caught yellowtail before? That same exact, that's what you want to do. You don't ever want that line to be tight with that bait on there. You want it to flow natural. Drop those chummers in, watch what they're doing. Start pulling off ribbons of line. Same thing, the high vis line works really well because a lot of times you'll see that bite or see the bait take off before you ever fill it on the rod tip. But a lot of times you'll feel a tick. I tell my clients when I'm feeding off, you'll just feel a thump. You'll see the line start peeling off the reel, shut the bail. And most of the time that eat will occur as soon as that bait gets out of your sight. You're watching it, it's kind of clear, like right now the water's cleared up a little bit. You'll see that bait down about 6, 8, 10 feet. As soon as you can't see it anymore, you better get ready because he's fixing to eat it. And like I say, when he eats that thing, come tight. And that's how we get the bigger ones this time of year. The big snapper. Whenever the tide picks up, same areas, you can chum, but it doesn't seem to be as effective. You start getting a lot of stingrays and stuff in if you start chumming a lot when the tide's ripping and you go to the bottom rig. And what I use for the bottom rig is what we call a knocker rig. I'm knocking the roof right now. I don't run quite as long a leader when I use the knocker rig. I put about a 3 or 4 foot leader on. Basically the same thing. I'm using a 2-0 circle hook. With the tides kind of slow and not ripping real hard, I'll go with a 1 ounce. If it picks up, I'll go to 1.5 ounces or 2 ounce. And We're using the cut baits on the bottom also, or a live white bait. I like the smaller 3 to 4 inch live white baits. And the way I hook those baits is I hook them through the throat, right behind the gills, low. I don't nose hook them. They swim kind of upside down. It kind of gives them a little more action, and they seem to eat them a little better. But what we do with that knocker rig is when you drop that thing to the bottom, that bait will hit the bottom, and we give it a little bit of slack. What you're doing is you imagine that weight hitting the bottom on the sand. You give it a little slack, and that white bait will swim away from that weight, and he's right here swimming like this up off the bottom. And then that snapper will come in to eat him. When he does, it's a direct pull to that knocker rig. What you're going to see is that snapper, when he eats, you watch your rod tip, it'll thump like that. What he's doing, he's trying to kill that bait. He'll thump it like that. You feel that thump, then it'll get heavy like that. When he does, you just pick it up and start reeling. You got him. So it's a really effective way of catching those mangrove snapper.
Go ahead.
Hey, I got it now. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now on the snapper. Any questions on the mangrove, Tampa Bay mangrove snapper? Todd, of course.
Can you explain do you follow the salooner periods?
I do. Yes, yep. You know, major feed is very, very important. A lot of people say you're crazy. We're not deer hunting, but it's the same thing for fishing as it is for hunting. Those fish eat on that salooner. It's been proven many times over. You can catch them any time of the day. They will bite, they will eat, but on that salooner period, to me, it's usually like 30 to 45 minutes before, and about 30 to 45 minutes after that salooner is that window. And this last Friday proved that. We were offshore, went out 50-something miles offshore, and the bite was iffy all morning. I was watching that moon. I said, guys, when that moon gets right there, it's going to turn on. And sure enough, man, we went to catch him. And I made a believer out of the guy on the boat with me. So.
Well, let me ask you guys this then, the salooner experts. August 21st, it's going to be full eclipse. What are the fish going to do?
Go crazy, hopefully.
Yeah, if the moon's going to be overhead with the sun. The moon is what dictates the salooner.
Yep.
So the moon overhead and the moon underneath are major feeder times. The moon's setting and rising are the minor feeding times, which is an hour and a half, or the majors are an hour and a half, the minors are about an hour, give or take, depending on the situation. What I found with the snapper, is that if it's a major feeding time, they'll go off, and no matter if it's snapper, group, inshore, whatever, you could be having the worst day with the worst tides, and you have a major or a minor coming up, and you can dictate the bite 95% of the time because of what's going on. If the weather conditions are bad, then it doesn't correlate. But 95% of the time, those major or minor feeding times are almost dead on. I learned that 6 years of guiding, almost 30 years of fishing in this area. It's almost a dead on, accurate, which I never followed until I started
I'm
guiding.
going to add something. Todd, I've known Todd for many years, and he's talked about moon phases. I've been to some of his seminars and stuff, and I was like, screw your moon phases. But I've done more research since then, and I do definitely, in a tournament, for example, if there's a major or minor, I make sure I'm not traveling to a different spot during that time, or I time my best spots around that. And there's other factors that can screw that up, like weather and other things, but it is a real thing to learn to move. You can read all about it online, really, if you can learn that stuff, because it really is a big difference. You know, one big fish can make your day.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's the thing.
And see, Todd, no disrespect.
Oh, that's all right.
I ain't the guy saying screw whatever, but I don't follow that.
No, I understand.
I just go fishing.
A lot of people don't.
I didn't either.
Yeah, and one day I'm gonna be up here like him saying I should have listened to her.
I did.
You know, but I'm a rookie on the block, but I just go fishing.
No, I understand.
And when I want a major feed, I just charm him.
Some of them still eat.
He's chumming like crazy, and then the salooner hits it. Oh,
Like, oh my God! Yes.
I respect what you
No, I
and
got
John
you.
saying.
I got
I just go fishing.
I got you.
One day you don't have clients on the boat, just go out there and look at your little app on your phone and just see what happens. Just try it.
Talk offshore.
Offshore?
Offshore.
Man, I hadn't been offshore, but one day.
I saw you go for your birthday.
I go for my birthday.
I'm gonna leave right now. He's talking offshore. Black people won't go offshore. If I fall out of the boat, I want to stand up and walk away.
Anyway, I'm not running any offshore trips anymore. I don't run a permanent boat anymore, but last year I was. I did go offshore Friday, first time in a long time. The bite was good, it was decent. I did talk about mangrove snapper. I caught my personal best mangrove snapper at 28 inches.
Wow.
Absolute giant. The thing was
Did you let
crazy.
it go?
I did not. He's in the freezer. Gray's taxidermy is making me
Snapper were free.
I called him up. Actually, my buddy Captain Jason Sherrill called up Gray's taxidermy for me because I didn't know whether to do a skin mount or what. And they told me they didn't have a 28-inch mold. So if I donated it to them, they'd pop a 28-inch off of it, paint it up for me, and I'd give it to them. So I'm getting a free mount from Gray's taxidermy. So awesome. Saved me $600. But I did catch that thing, guys, on this rig right here in 155 feet of water. On that knocker rig right there, 10-pound test with a 20-pound leader. And you talk about fun. 8 10-pound mangrove snapper on that. Man, he about whipped my butt. So I got a picture on my phone. I'll show you guys if you want to see it. It's an absolute giant.
How deep was that?
155 feet of water. And we were due west off of Sarasota, out there 155 feet. Coordinates was 27, 86, 75, 309. Anyway, yeah.
Anybody got any questions for any three of these guys? Yes, sir.
The rock piles in the shipping lane, how do you find them?
How do you find them?
How do you find them?
Rolling, checking your...
How do you find them? You got a good GPS machine? Look at that bad boy.
Yep. Like I said, get on that high side. Get right out here. I mean, there's tons of rock piles right out here. Literally, we fish from Bahia Beach Reef to Port Manatee Reef. Out here. Main shipping channel, get on that upside. The bottom part of the channel is like 42 to 50 feet of water. It hops up on that ledge. There's a lot of good spots right on the edge of the ledge too. A lot of times you'll find a big show on that ledge, halfway up, sitting in like 35 feet of water. But the top side of that ledge, what we call the hill, is about 22 to 25 feet. Parallel that channel right where it drops off, and you want to look for that structure on that high side. It doesn't take much. I mean, low crop rocks. Most of our spots are 1 or 2 foot little rocks. And a lot of times they'll be out on the hill too, from the edge of the channel to the top. Go out there, once you do find a little show, just zigzag back and forth. Sometimes out there in 22, 25 feet of water, you'll find more stuff out there that nobody's messing with. They're not trolling plugs over for grouper, and we catch a lot of big gags out here. We've caught 30-inch gags right out here while we're snapper fishing. So there's and while you're there, throw your chum bag out too. A lot of times cobia come out. We caught 6 or 8 big keeper cobia this year by just anchored up snapper fishing and show up at the back of the boat while we're chumming. So
What's your rig for the gags?
for gags, we catch a lot of them on this light tackle, believe it or not, while we're freelining. They'll come up, but we'll bump it up a little bit to like a one-aught. Todd taught me this little trick right here. Is we'll spool these like a 1/0 like this with straight fluorocarbon line. That's got straight 20 on it. So you're not tying leaders. Basically, you break off. All you do is throw another weight and hook on there. You're ready to go.
You just knock a rig.
Knock a rig, same way. We'll bump it up a little bit. I think that's a 2 ounce or 2.5 ounce weight, and we'll get the gags on that. But if we start getting broke off a lot, we'll break out a little bigger tackle. I'll break out like a 6,000 or 6,000 spinning outfit or something like that with some 80 braid on it and 40, 50 pound leader. But
What do you put as a bait normally?
a big white bait. A lot of times we get them on a big dead white bait. Pinfish, a legal size mangrove snapper. They love them.
Illegal size.
Yeah, they shoot 10 inches. They love a 10-inch mangrove snapper. You send one down, you better hold on. So.
Do you primarily mangrove or grouper fish in the bay?
It varies.
Have you tried trolling?
I have not.
Okay,
That's very effective. Very
trolling is probably the most effective way of catching gags in the bay.
Not only are you catching gags, you're finding bottom while you're doing it. Because you're
It
trolling
is-
that ledge.
It can be pricey because you need #2 planers, you need the big one, the bucktail, the 1 ounce bucktails. You need the long 6 or 8 inch curly, either pink or white.
Or you can just drag the stretch,
Or you
man
can do a
stretch
stretch
20.
25. Do a stretch 25, but you get on that, you'll see on your GPS, that shipping channel. You get that 25-foot water. You stay in that 25-foot water and you put that planer as far back as you can. You put that stretch 25 on the short and just roll. And stay on that edge as much as you can. If you're heading into Tampa Bay and you get further to the left, you're going to get hung up in the rocks. So you want to stay in that sweet spot. When you stay in that sweet spot, I will guarantee if you start at Skyway, by the time you get to Cockroach, you'll be hit. I'm not going to say you're going to catch one, but you know you're going to be hit because you're going to see that planer come sky high. Or you're going to see that the stretch 25 will sit there and all of a sudden do something funky and come to the top.
And those guys, they'll run that high side too a lot. You know.
They love it. Now, the trick to it is go with the tide because fish are always nose into the tide. So what you want to do is you go with the tide. So you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to go from marker 1 to marker 2, either red or green. You pick your side and go, all right, there. Then you come back and then you go, all right, I'm going to go from marker 1 to marker 3 with the current because that fish is going to be nose in. And when he sees that, he's going to, the great thing about trolling, all you got to do is keep the boat going and just pull it off the gunnel and just crank. Leave it in the rod holder and just
Pops to
crank.
the top. It's not much of a fight because most times you see them back there skipping behind the boat, but it's effective. It's a good meat trip. You can
It's a
definitely
meat
catch it.
trip. And the longer the leader line, the better. And I'm not talking about just going, 1, 2, like you want 15, 20 feet of nothing but leader line. Use about, I would say in the bay, probably around anywhere between maybe 30, 35, maybe even 40. I wouldn't go any higher than 40 or maybe even 50, depending on what part. If you're on the west side of the Skyway, bump it up a little bit, but you're on this side, don't go any higher than 40. But trolling's so effective, and you can just sit back there, drive the boat, you're going about maybe 3,000 RPMs at the most. At the most. You just want the boat to be on a constant move. And it's going to be, you just sit back and watch.
About 4 to 6 knots is what we did troll. But
Does that probably get better during the winter?
Wintertime, more fish.
Winter time is a better time, but you can do it all. You can do it during grouper season.
Yep.
Summertime.
Starting July 1st, the fish are here. There's resident fish that stay here. We put our GoPros down all the time. Todd and I do.
The
And
reason,
just to look for the snapper and stuff, and we see big gags all year long, all the time in the summer. So.
the reason why I tell you to do it in the summertime primarily is because you got to remember in the summertime, you have opposite wind and current. So you try to anchor up, you're not doing